In this episode of Man vs. Marriage, we're going to talk about sex, baby. Going to talk about you and me. That's my singing voice.
We do not own the rights to this song, so nobody sue him for that rendition.
The podcast. How good do you want your life to be?
You gotta live on purpose, for a purpose.
It's truly about becoming the best version of yourself that's possible. This is Man vs. Marriage, the podcast.
Welcome back to another episode of Man vs. Marriage. It is I, the cute diggity dog. I don't know why I have to continually introduce myself. It's just that radio thing embedded in me. Thank you, DJ 404. I love you, miss you, rest in peace. In the studio with my wife, Jeannie.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, so I had another show planned for this particular episode, but my wife stepped in and said, let's talk about sex. And I said, heck yeah, let's talk about sex. But it might not be exactly what you're thinking. But I do want to talk about sex, because in the last episode titled What the Heck Did I Do, we brought up sex, emotional connection, sexual connection.
For men.
And guys, look, man, we don't want you going to your wife and say, look, honey, you know, I was listening to the podcast and Quincy said that, you know, sex is the way that I connect. So anytime I'm asking, you know, you got to go have some sex with me because that's what Quincy said, and that's the only way our marriage is going to get better.
Wrong.
I got enough enemies in my life. I don't need to make any more, and I don't need you disappointed. So we're going to use this episode to clarify that. Is it okay to say that we do have lots of sex in our marriage?
I don't have any problems with you admitting to that. It's
Okay.
a good thing.
I'm going to admit
It's a healthy life.
that we do, even amidst having so many children. But one of the things that, you know, we just want to bring up in person, it didn't happen all at one time.
No.
It just didn't. When I heard that, it made a lot of sense to me. That's where a guy connects, whether it's at climax or orgasm or whichever. I don't remember the details. But emotionally, that's what really drives a woman's connection. And it's almost like the yin and the yang, right? You know, one continually feeds into the other. And I don't want you to become some fake connector where you just do this emotional connection or you walk through it just to get more sex. It's actually a byproduct of going all in and emotionally connecting with your wife.
It's not about just getting off. It's just not. That's not
Yeah.
the point of this, is not to say you need your wife for a connection just so that you can get to your climax and everything's good. You're fine. You feel great. Your stress is gone. Dude, you'll leave her hanging. You'll leave her mad, and she won't give you the connection you're seeking. It's just going to be a service or an act, and that's not what we're after.
Now, in the beginning, we had some obvious tensions because I'd come home, or, you know, we would flirt over text. I would come home, we would flirt, you know, nibble, kiss, you know, touch and passing, pinch, whatever the case is. And then autism would rear its ugly head. Now, my motor's turning. And
Quincy is on.
you know, we're talking about it's time to get down tonight, baby. It's time to get down. We're getting down. And then, you know, Kirsten would stay up late. I would lay in the bed. First, I'd feel guilty for being upset because it's like, look, man, this is our time. This is what we need. Then you would come to bed and go directly to sleep. You wouldn't say a word to me. And then I'm laying there kind of pissed off, you know, and getting a little emotional myself because it's like, how could you just go to bed without saying anything to me? Why didn't it cross my mind for me to just look over and say, honey, we're supposed to get down tonight, so I'm kind of disappointed, or say whatever's on my mind.
Don't be a jerk about it.
Yeah.
If you can avoid it, I understand. Because we had moments. He had moments. He was very frustrated. I understand. It was my fault. I get it. But snapping, yelling, flipping your lid is not the way to broach this subject, because she will instantly say, and you ain't getting it for the next 3 days either. So just...
I don't recall snapping and yelling about it.
We had a couple of heated discussions over it. But
heated discussions
but
is fair.
once we learned that this is your connection, this is something that is necessary, it's needed, it's how you, the way that he put it to me was, when work is rough, we've got things going on with our kids, life is happening, let's face it, shit happens, life goes on.
Right.
It's just the way that it is. In all that chaos, as much as your wife might need to go have a relaxing bath and a glass of wine and chill out, you guys need that physical connection to know that if nothing else in the world is right, at least I'm connected to my wife. I'm firmly grounded here. This works.
And that's my experience, and I've told you that for a long time. If we're right, and that emotionally and physically, life just doesn't have the same effect on me that it normally would. And if I'm, sexually frustrated, then that things that don't matter just freaking matter, and they shouldn't.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just the dog in me or what, but that's the way that it goes. And there was a point, and I think it was last year or maybe the year before. And I wrote down over here my dummy syndrome, because I actually don't understand it, but I've never asked you about it. But something happened, it's a want versus a need. I want you or versus I need you. Now, as a guy, you think, wouldn't she just want to be wanted? But somehow I've got the wrong perspective here, because when we finally talked it out, and it's like I told you, it's like, honey, it is so frustrating for us to build up to this all day long, and for me to know that this is supposed to happen, and then for you to go to bed. I get you being tired, but can't you just acknowledge me and say anything to let me know? Just that acknowledgement makes it easier for me
To not be mad.
It makes it easier for me to digest or to process, to know it's like, because how could I be mad at you? I mean, you would take 5 days a week, and then Friday night I would start my shift with Kirsten so you could get some rest. So I know, the pain of not sleeping for 20 hours at a time. And so really, I would lay there and kind of be upset, and then I'd get pissed at myself for being upset, which I do often, because I don't like to, internally, I don't like my attitude towards you to be negative. But I think when I was vulnerable enough to say, it bothers me when you just go to bed and you don't say anything, because I'm laying there in bed waiting for you, waiting for us. And you actually took that okay. You took it to heart. And then you were like, where did you take it from there?
Okay, so first of all, wanting me is what we talked about in the last episode. To show me that you want me is all those things that you do to show me I'm a priority, that you're paying attention. That's wanting me. You want my attention because you're giving me those things, you're giving me that time, you're putting me as a priority. That stirs me internally.
Yeah.
Needing me means I'm giving you something that you don't get anywhere else.
Yeah.
It's not just needing me to take care of business so you can go to sleep. It's you needing my full attention. You need my full connection. I need to set aside anything else. Even if we've been arguing, honestly, when people joke about fighting naked and having sex after you fight, it's the best thing you could possibly do. I'm just letting you know, because once the fight is over and that connection is remade, the fight doesn't seem so bad anymore. And when we go back to talk about it the next time, we both have a clear level head. We're not pissed off anymore.
And it's not easy because,
No.
Let's just take, for example, getting down and dirty in a money talk and then having sex afterwards. I mean, we do it.
Yeah.
I always feel better after, we're done talking about money, because we look at money different. No, I'm not saying it's wrong. It's frustrating, but it's not wrong. And then, afterwards it's our time to connect, and we do, and it's kind of hard getting out of that frustrated headspace, but it does just help you relax and take your edge off. It helps
It's like hitting a reset button.
Yeah.
Okay, you remember playing Nintendo and the game would get jammed and you get pissed off and you keep hitting reset to start it over so you could just...
I always had to pull the cartridge out and blow it.
No comment. Wrong conversation, babe.
I know, honey. I'm sorry.
Okay, so I think what ends up happening is we get frustrated with the money talks, we get frustrated with things, and the reason that we have that connection between us and we'll take the time to have sex and change everything is simply because we've reset. That connection means we're okay.
Yeah.
And that's really what it amounts to. So a few things that we've learned, you can use that frustration in your sex. Don't hurt nobody, but it can definitely change the level of things, and it makes a huge difference when you're really frustrated. I'll let y'all figure that out for yourself and what that means.
We are.
But if this is really something that you're struggling with your spouse, Quincy had to come to me and just tell me there's a difference. There are days when he'll just tell me he wants this connection. He wants time with me, and that's okay. Learn the term rain check when life happens.
Yes.
It's okay to say, I really need to take a rain check tonight. And you need to make a non-negotiable that it's okay for someone to wave that flag, because there are nights when I am just, I can't. I'm just exhausted. I've got a migraine, and it's not the excuse of just having a headache. You're talking about going 2, 3, 4 days in a row with maybe 2 hours sleep at times.
Right.
It might be you that needs to take a rain check. She might be thinking about it all day and in her headspace thinking this is going down, and maybe she's planned a little something fun for you, and, that you make the rain check. You guys have to talk about these things. We had to sit down and say, okay, we make it a point once a month to try to get away at least one night a month if we can, if not for the full weekend. That's our time where we have those conversations about our sex life, about our marriage, about things that we want to try, that we want to change, that maybe we've learned about ourselves. That's the time away from life. Mm-hmm. Where we focus solely on just us. We're away from the kids. It makes a huge difference when we can get out of our house. We've got a lot more than most people. So if you can do this with your kids in the house, more power to you. We cannot, and keep me in the right mindset. So know what your limitations are and how you can work around them. But having those conversations, take the time to learn about what each other likes. Mm-hmm. It's not just as simple as taking your clothes off and doing the deed. There is a lot more involved in this for women, and please do not use the crock pot as the analogy. I hate that analogy.
I hate crock pot meals anyway, honey.
Because let's just be honest. If you know what you're doing, you can get her there quickly. You can make things happen. But that's not the point. The point is if her mind is not there, if her tank... Rita always talks to us about our love tank. Mm-hmm. Okay? What that is are you meeting my need? Am I meeting your need? Where's your tank at? If her tank is not full, if her things are not being met, if you're not dating her, you're not going to have the full connection. Mm-hmm. On the same token, if she doesn't know the difference between I need you tonight and I want you, I've had a shitty day at work and I just need you. That to me flips a switch instantly. I don't care what else is happening tonight. I don't care if it's 3 o'clock in the morning when I get in bed. You need something from me. It's happening.
And I think just writing it down and being bold enough, because I've never asked you that question, right? I've never asked you the question about what's the difference between the want and the need. It's been a question in my mind, but I think I have figured it out, and you tell me if I'm wrong. The want is, I just want the sex. The need is, I need you to connect with me.
Yes and no.
Okay.
The want is, it's more just, it is wanting the sex, but sometimes it's just wanting to do something together, wanting to try something different. Want can be used in a lot of different things and not just sex.
Well, I'm speaking specifically about
I know.
What was our
That's what I'm saying.
rub and,
what it was for me was want just put me in the mindset, and this has a lot to do with how I was taught.
I know
Okay.
what's coming. I'm ready.
It is want is a service mentality.
Yep.
He hates this, and it's something that I have really, really had to work on. Let me just explain. When you're in high school, when you're growing up, depending on how your parents raised you, depending on what your church may have taught you, depending on what life in general around you has taught you as a female, your job is to service your man. If my job is to service you, I am a paid whore no matter how you look at it. You're paying for my house. You're paying for my food. You're taking care of my kids. I am paid to give you a service. That is not connecting with me.
Got it.
Does that mean it's wrong? No. There are days where he'll just come in and he wants something or I want something.
Mm-hmm.
Don't discount the fact that your wife wants sex. She may not say it all the time, but trust me, it's not just you. But it's not because of our conversations and the fact that we've actually dug into this and we have been able to change the way that I see it. Want means you want sex, but it is not a paid service anymore.
Yeah, and that is what's becoming clear to me now. When you thought of a want, you equaled that to service, which is totally not my personality at all. But that's just the way it was. And then when you hear need, you hear connection. I need you for me. That makes total sense to me, just based on where we've come in our relationship. That's what I wasn't putting together, because me wanting you is a totally different discussion. It doesn't even belong in the same discussion as want and need here.
Yeah.
So I get that now, and it's funny that you use this episode, or I use this episode to get to know you a little bit better. But I understand now when it's like, I want it, you hear service. When it's like, honey, I need you. And I don't abuse that.
No, you don't.
I don't abuse that. And rain check, I'm glad you brought it out. Rain check. Guys, rarely will you probably ever need to use a rain check, because testosterone is such a great fuel. Even when you're tired, you can get yourself fired up quick. It's a great fuel. So rain checks may not be plenty on your side, but respect the rain check from your wife. If she's just too mentally and physically exhausted, you got to respect that.
There is a way to help sometimes too, because we've had to do rain check, and the next morning he will make it a point throughout the day to text me, to talk to me, this is when he really turns up the attention factor and putting me as a priority through the day, because it gives me the entire day to think about what's coming, what we're going to do, where our evening is going to go. And sometimes he might do something to make it more romantic. Sometimes, because it's in my mindset, I might go and buy something to wear just to change it up. It's just giving that grace, and then making sure that you're building the mentality to know this is going to happen tonight because we took the rain check. I need you in this mindset. I need you to understand this is no longer I want this, I need this. And there are a lot of things that we had to do. Some people are uncomfortable with it. It's taking us time to get comfortable with it. This is not the most comfortable subject between the two of us, but we had to start going to other avenues to learn and unprogram some of the things that were taboo or that were not up for discussion. I'm not saying we've got like a porn library or anything like that. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is talk to your spouse, find avenues to learn. I don't care if it's through books. I don't care if it's through, YouTube, if it's through just talking to each other. There are a lot of things that you need to discuss in this particular area, and then you need to define what is a need, what is a want, and then you need to define with each other what works for her, what works for you, so that it's not just getting yourself taken care of, but that you are both connecting properly.
Agreed. And, as we wrap up, there's a couple things I'm going to leave you with, guys. There's an old adage, game changer for me. Have you ever heard the old adage, ladies first?
Thank you.
That was game changer for our relationship. dude, get real. She's always got to. She's got to be the priority. She's got to go first. Just take that for what it's worth. It's worth a lot for me, and it means a lot to me. She's got to go first, and then you can get the real business, on yours started. But she's got to be the priority. The last two things, so we can wrap this up. I listened to a podcast called Front Row Dads. Excellent podcast. It's about being, a father and a businessman, not a businessman and a father. But they do talk about relationships. Episode 99 is Better Sex with Kim Amani. Now, look, this episode's going a little bit longer than anticipated, but it's a must that I tell you. The episode is awesome. But if you run a G-rated life, just prepare and stick it out. Prepare and stick it out, because it's like a no holds barred. It's all that sex talk language, but it's an eye opener, and that will help you understand it'll just help you understand what becomes the priority when it comes with sex and connection. And then there's one more podcast I'll leave you with, is the One Extraordinary Marriage. Fantastic, all kinds of subjects. A lot you can learn. I listen to them. I encourage you to listen to them. And that is what we will leave you with. So until the next episode, you know your homework. Okay? Ladies first, boys. The cute diggity dog is out.
The podcast.
How good do you want your life to be?
It's truly about becoming the best version of yourself that's possible.
This is Man vs. Marriage.
The podcast.